of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Meeting will come to order, and our first item will be a presentation of employee recognition. Police Chief Gould.
Good evening. As you know, we have a new awards program. It incentivizes good police work. Peers and the public can notify us when they see an officer that's done an exceptional job. That's what occurred in this case. I'm very proud to say I work with a bunch of very professional, compassionate people, and this is just one of many instances that have happened, but it's a very important instance, and I'd like to yield to Mr. Lefebvre so that he could make a presentation.
My name's Joe Lefebvre. I'm sorry, I might be a little emotional here. A couple weeks ago, my daughter had passed away. Matt was one of the first responders on the scene. I spoke with the chief of the fire department also, and this wasn't a one-time occasion. They had been there several times. The girl was sick for many years, fighting diabetes, kidney failure. Now, I know the police deal with this kind of thing more than the average public like me. But you also can tell when someone's just doing their job and they go beyond that a little bit. And when they make an attempt to console you or me, my son, my ex-wife, who she would have been here tonight, but she's very emotional right now, so she couldn't be. But you can see it. When you look in their eyes, you know that it's a little more than just them doing their job. It's true compassion. And I think that says a great thing for this town, and it says a great thing for Matt. And I'm going to cut it short because I'm going to end up breaking down here. But when you look into their eyes and they look into yours, you can tell when someone is truly sincere and beyond just being a cop. And he did a great job. He was compassionate to my whole family, more than you would just expect. Yeah, Chief was. This is very well earned. Excellent police duty. There's no doubt about it. Matt, thank you very much.
You may know that he recently observed his 20th anniversary with the town of Fairfield as well as a police officer.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congrats, Matt. Great job. Thank you. That's a great way to start a meeting off.
Yes, it is.
Indeed.
Yep.
All right, so let's move on to our first order of business now, which is public announcements. Details may be found at www.fairfieldme.com. For the November 2nd, 2021 election, absentee ballot applications are available online and via phone. Absentee ballots will be available from October 4th to the 28th, which means tomorrow is the last day. The Lawrence Public Library will be hosting a Halloween event on Friday, October 29th from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. And the Fairfield Police Department will be hosting a trunk or treat October 31st from 2 to 5 p.m. on Escalon Drive in Fairfield. Moving on to the second order of business, which is public hearings. Has the manager overview Zoom protocols to participate?
For the folks in Zoom land.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I was standing
Gotcha.
back there for a minute.
Gotcha.
So
Sorry.
for folks in Zoom land, which Kent Ellison is actually here with us. He is the applicant on this. He can speak to you if he would like regarding his application, if the council has any questions. If you are in Zoom land and you also would like to speak, if you look down at the bottom, there should be the ability for you to be able to hit reactions. And if you hit reactions, you can raise your hand, and we'll know that you want to speak, and we'll call on you for the public hearing. The only other person that is with us in the public hearing is actually Chief Bickford. There are no other.
River Jack Tavern, 230 Main Street, Fairfield. I declare the public hearing open, and those that wish to speak must give name and address.
Here in the room, so they can see you.
Great. Hello, Kent Eliason, proprietor of Riverjack Tavern. Thanks for having me here. Happy to answer any questions you might have about my liquor license application. Excited to be in Fairfield and feel like we could do pretty well there. You get a great city.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yes.
I really like what you're doing with the tavern. Can't wait to see the inside. But I was wondering, are you serving food? And I've heard rumors about a micro-brews being served. I don't know what kind of a liquor license this is, so maybe you can tell us a little bit about the plans.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be serving food, full kitchen. Sandwiches, burgers, quesadillas, salads, lasagna, some heartier fare, kind of lunch, dinner. Planning on doing brunch on Sundays. And we'd be serving, we're looking for kind of the full gamut, malt, wine, and hard liquor. No brewing on the premises, but we will be serving, as much local, small breweries that we can get our hands on.
Great. Thank you.
Any other questions? Nothing from the Zoom people? Okay. Then I will declare the public hearing closed following public comments. All right. Move on to the third order of business. Public comments, 3-minute limit or equivalent. Members of the public may email comments for council at info@fairfieldme.com by 4 p.m. the day of the meeting on any topic or agenda item, and items may be read aloud at this time. Did we have any?
Nothing.
Okay. Then we'll move on to fourth order of business, which is staff reports from staff and committee. The town manager report.
All right. So on October 14th, I had a meeting with Joe Higgins from PAL. PAL would like to be able to use the community center gymnasium for youth basketball this year. They will be working with the town's cleaning company to ensure proper cleaning after each use. We do hope that this will be a solution for them. As you know, we have very limited use of the community center at this time, and the reason for that is the ability to have someone clean it after every single event. We currently employ a cleaner that cleans twice a week, so we have an event on the weekend and one other event during the week. So what they hope to do is have the cleaners come in Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, if that's the way they end up going with their plan. So once basketball is finished, they will clean and disinfect the building, and that way they'll be able to actually have a program this winter, unlike last winter where the pandemic kept that from happening. So fingers crossed that works out.
Okay.
On the 18th, I attended a Zoom meeting hosted by KVCOG with the towns of Madison and Heartland, as well as the Central Maine Growth Council. KVCOG is looking for ways to assist the region with regards to PFAS issues and using EPA funding opportunities. The scale of Fairfield's water expansion initiative will more than likely be too large for their types of funding that they are looking at, but I'm going to continue to monitor this topic simply because of the fact that we also want to make sure that we're not in competition for the same funds. So that's kind of one of the pieces that we'll keep looking at. On the 19th, the town had a booth at the Business to Business Showcase held at Colby College. We continue to be the only town to attend this event, and the opportunity that we have to speak with area businesses about Fairfield and what we have to offer to businesses continues to be one of our best outreach tools that we have. The 26th, I had a video conference with Ampion, which is a business that I actually met at the B2B. They're a new business to the area that is working on community solar, and they're working to help residents sign up for net metering community solar opportunities. We'll continue to have some future conversations and about how that may be working here in our community. For updates on projects, the signs have been posted at the fish ponds warning against the eating of the fish. Inland Fisheries and Wildlife have planned, they were planning on restocking the ponds last week. As far as I know, that happened last Thursday. The plans for the closed landfill solar project that were submitted to DEP for the conditional compliance application have actually been denied. The project layout was changed extensively from the original minor revision that we did back in October of 2018. So a new minor revision application needs to be filed. DEP is working with Tangent on this application, and as well as some items of construction that can be done while they're working through that process. So it's not going to stop them from going forward with starting construction on the landfill of the solar array. But Tangent, which of course, as you know, took over for HEP USA, substantially changed the design, and mostly it's around moving the access road to the location. So it triggered some different changes at DEP. So they're handling all of that. There's no cost to the municipality. The company pays all those application fees and handles all of those pieces. U.S. Cellular will start construction on the cell tower behind Public Works on November 8th. The fire department's full-time staff are in compliance with the vaccine mandate. Public Works is at full staff. The new foreman started this past Monday, which was exciting. Starting in early November, DEP has made arrangements to start delivering bottled water to the homes of residents with contaminated wells. They will no longer have water available at the fire station, and this cures the issue of us having to park a fire truck outside in the colder weather. And that is it for me.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions or concerns for the manager? All right, moving on to any committee reports.
No.
None? No committee reports, so we'll move on to the fifth order of business then. This is a consent agenda. Now, this item are considered routine or standard business and therefore will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless a council member so requests prior to consideration of this portion of the agenda, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered next on the agenda. So item 21-134, ordered that the Fairfield Town Council hereby waives a reading of and accepts the minutes for the meeting 2021-17 held on October 13th, 2021. Moving to item 21-135, ordered that the Town Council hereby approves Treasurer Warrant Number 25, General Fund, for the amount of $1,062,977.50, not limited to but including county tax, employee health insurance, motor vehicle, TIF payments, Dirigo Engineering water study.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussions? There being none, all in favor? Carries full. Moving on to the sixth order of business, to take action on the following items of business as read. Item 21-136, ordered that the Town Council hereby approves a liquor license renewal application, Class 11 restaurant, submitted by River Jack Tavern, 230 Main Street, Fairfield.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, questions? All in favor?
This is an original or a renewal?
No, this is an original.
You might want to amend that motion to get rid of the word
Yeah,
renewal.
it said,
My
Because on the
apologies.
front,
it
it
said renewal.
Yeah, it's not. My apologies. That was a copy-paste error on my
Oh,
behalf.
license, I'm sorry. Yeah. Renewal is out, it's just a regular license application, sorry.
Next year will be a renewal.
Next year will be renewal.
Anticipating great success.
Sorry about that, guys.
Good catch.
Really, I'm sorry.
Friendly amendment.
Thank you.
Nice. Friendly amendment.
Second that, yep.
Okay. Any more questions or whatever? No? Okay. All in favor? Carries full. Licenses submitted.
Best of luck.
Congratulations.
Best of luck. Good luck. And
Thank you very much, folks.
No, it's a good area, good place. Okay, item 21-137, order that the town council hereby amends the town council administrative policy fee, scheduled FOA in accordance with state updates to MRSA 1, Chapter 408-A, subsection Chapter 8B. The FOA, Electronic Email Public Info, manager is appointed official, exempt if under 2 hours. FOA. FOA labor rate after 2 hours, manager is appointed official, $25 per hour statute rate.
So moved.
Second.
Questions, discussions? Yes.
The only
Michelle.
comment is that this was actually an oversight from the correction that you had done at your last meeting where we made some other adjustments to the same exact statute
Right.
within our fee schedule. So
Yep.
that's all. It was just state law made changes and this got missed. That's all.
All in favor? Carries full. Now to our seventh order of business, which is a council workshop and other businesses. Now, the first on the agenda is to meet with Garvin Donegan, CMGC, and Economic Community Development Committee. Step right up to the podium, sir.
Hello, good evening, all. Good evening, Chair, councilors, Michelle, and members of the public. Great to be with everybody this evening. We did, in advance of the meeting, send along a memo with mostly a representation of a sketch of recent work by the town's Economic and Community Development Committee, which was specifically discussing initiatives with waterfront planning and some of the associated work. So happy to answer any questions with that, but maybe just the quick thumbnail sketch is that memo really reflects a little bit of a retrospective of the last 12 months of waterfront planning-based work specifically, beginning with a little bit of a kickoff with a community-wide planning survey, leading to some review of the town's comprehensive plan in terms of alignment, objectives, and items that were listed in there, and of course wanting to have good concurrence with the town's active comp plan. Then leading into work related to a review of waterfront planning case models, main-based case models, in terms of approaches that other communities have taken from both a public planning perspective, but also looking for ideas, approaches, and methodologies. And then most recently, some of that committee's work has focused on synthesizing that information, developing a draft project timeline, as well as preparing and putting together a methodology around kind of strategic planning and/or a community planning charrette to cull ideas and thoughts and a diversity of input from the community vis-a-vis a SWOT or SCOT analysis. So that's the general framework in the memo, as well as looking for just general concurrence from the council on what the priorities are of this council with regards to community and development objectives, number one. Number two, if the Fairfield and Economic Community Development Committee were to undergo a formal waterfront planning process, what's the scale and scope that would be desired by the council? So would it be all along the riverfront? Would it be segments, or would it maybe be focused to a particular geography, like, for example, in or around Mill Island? And then from there, if we were to do a waterfront planning initiative through the committee, what are the goals of that waterfront planning initiative? Is it to manage our existing resources along the shoreline? Is it to inventory and manage our great open spaces? Is it to be maybe more future thinking and do future open space planning? Or is it on the other side of things, thinking about how we spur development, enhance recreational trails and open space, and/or provide additional opportunities for legal public access to the waterfront area? So all to say, happy to answer any questions and/or share any perspectives on the work of the committee up to this point as it relates to waterfront planning or any items within the memo itself.
Okay. Questions?
That's a lot to be thinking about, but if you look on the second page at the top,
Yeah.
we could take this question by question if you want. How do you feel about that, Garvin?
That's perfect, Stephanie. Yeah, councilors.
Because there's a lot to think about. Currently, we've been having a hard time making quorum, and we really need more people to get involved with the Economic Committee and attend the meetings. And when you think about everything, it starts off with Mill Island, and then we don't have a waterfront plan, which is mentioned in the comprehensive plan, and how, like Garvin said, how extensive do you want to go into this? On the bottom of page 2, figure 1, the question on the survey, should access to Mill Island's waterfront be improved? That's almost 70% of the people that said, yes, it does need to be improved. So this, in essence, is the impetus for a lot of discussions that we've had. Where do we want to go with this, and to what extent? So even though we are an advisory council, we're coming to the council for advice. So I'm not going to really participate in any dialogue because I am the chair. But I would like to hear from all of you.
I do too, because I'm going to sit back too, because I'm on the committee
No.
too.
And so, but we need to have input. Where do you want us to go with this?
Well, we had originally, when we originally formed this committee many years ago, that was the primary context of that committee, was basically really working on the waterfront. We had started with where the boat landing and through that particular area was a stronger one. Mill Island was still, the trail hadn't even really been made yet, so we talked about, we did the trail and
And they tore down the buildings.
tore down the buildings and did a lot of different things. The one thing that wasn't mentioned was the access to water on Mill Island, or any of that. That wasn't part of that committee at that point in time, because most of the access was right along where the boat landing, where the boat landing is, in that area in there. That was, processed too. So I think, adding the Mill Island on there, and at the time we got a little bit of resistance from the residents on Mill Island on getting too much going in there, type of thing. And then originally too was going to be a bridge across from the other side over Walking Bridge over to Mill Island. And there was a few other things in there. They wanted to put up a market, farmer's market there on Mill Island too. So, I mean, that was all included in there, and I think there should be the minutes of that stuff at somewhere that probably should be searched out and brought back into play also.
Because on the committee, we got little stumps. Yeah, we got Mill Island and the waterfront behind on Mill Street. Also too, we got Hinckley and we got Shaman.
Right.
So we got 4 entities we got to think about. Are we going to develop all the way from Hinckley to Shaman, then to Mill Island, then behind Main Street on the wharf? So that's the stump we have right now.
Or do we just focus on Mill Island as like I said, the impetus for the waterfront plan?
Yeah, well, one of the areas too that we, at that time, strongly were talking about was to be able to increase the fishing aspect of, you know, that whole section all the way up to the Shawmut and, you know, through, and maybe even have some fishing tournaments, things like that. I mean, those, you know, bringing traffic into town, which is what we want to do for business, obviously.
Also, too, we think, too, the pull, how are we going to pull, when we develop it, the investors. We don't have that much investors around this area, just not like Waterville has Kobe. That's what we got to look at, too. How are we going to pull the residents and other people to Fairfield, businesses? We need that investor and the business strength. And that's what we don't have right now.
Yes, Michelle?
I just want to clarify one thing when we talked about the 4 different locations for potential waterfront development. Just for the folks at home that may be listening, the piece in Shawmut that folks are talking about is the canoe portage just below the dam.
Right.
That property actually belongs to the state. We don't have any inherent
we
right
have
to develop that.
nothing to do there,
We could
yes.
partner with the state for some sort of
That's why
development,
we
but I
didn't,
just...
that's why I didn't bring it up, 'cause it
It's different
was-
than the other locations that we're talking about.
Yeah.
I just want to make that clarifying point.
Yep,
So.
absolutely.
So I guess my question would be, with your first part here, was the town council's core community and economic development priorities. I guess what I'm hearing is that they're focusing more on a community development rather than community and economic development. Would this be more of the council's place to focus on economic development, and this is more of a community development?
It's the Venn diagram of life.
And also, too, since this, too, economic, too, we need the planning board to get involved.
Yeah.
That's another entity right there. We got to think about the planning board.
From the economic and community development perspective, it's going to, what we do, because we're advising, is to be able to draw in the businesses, working through like Central Maine Growth Council, Katie Cog. We know that whatever we're going to do is going to require funding.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to get there, we've had several discussions over, what's it called, a master plan? The picture. Is it a master plan?
I think referring to potentially creating a site plan, and what I mean by that is like a site map or a land use diagram that would show existing conditions overlaid with kind of new desirable conditions and environmental features, et cetera, that we could present our vision or illustrate our vision, whether that's in a grant proposal or to the public or on a fundraising campaign, for example.
But we need to have, bottom line, a site plan so that we can move forward.
Right.
As for getting the community involved, it would be a process where it's very similar to what was done with the comprehensive plan. We ask people to participate, maybe we do another survey, but not to reiterate what's already been done, but to expound on it. There's so many avenues that we could go down. Where do you want us to focus?
Right, well, you know...
Also, to volunteers. We need more
Well,
volunteers.
we're going to have
help
to
us.
get people involved.
Right, we had,
can't do it by
when we
ourselves.
initially started, we had a pretty good group of volunteers, and I think that can happen again, you know, as long as it's not let to go to the Bayside. It's one of those things from an economic standpoint. If we build it, they will come. And, you know, the whole thought is to, if you do improve that waterfront, you get a lot of fishing going on, you get people coming in and coming down to the town. That's going to bring people in, bring business, and it'll eventually bring business in and everything else. So it's, you know...
So should we be just focusing on Mill Island as our priority? Or do we want to look at more of the waterfront? Where do we begin? Where do you think we should begin?
Well, I mean, you've got to begin at one point in some place, and obviously, we've got the givers there. We've got Mill Island, and we've got in front where the boats can go in and out and things like that. And, you know, you start on one step, and it's one step at a time. It's just like the place that we gave liquor license to today. They're right on the river. They're building out. I mean, then you've got a couple of places that are for sale that could be built out over the rivers. There's a lot of potential there. So it's a matter of getting one step at a time. You start with the one thing and then just keep moving on.
So if I'm hearing you right, John, you're suggesting that we take and use what we've got with Mill Island. The trails do need to be refurbished.
Yep.
Make it more ADA accessible. Clear some of the brush so you could see the river. Create a place that is for portaging, if people wanted to come up with signage. We have to improve the signage that's there. There's only, 2 signs?
Yeah.
And we need to really fix those up. The benches that are there have been spray painted. Those will need to be refurbished. The number one thing that we do, as recommended by Bruce Williams, is to put in some security cameras.
Yes.
No matter what we do.
Well, that's
and that
what we
would be
initially.
A priority.
Yeah, initially we had, when we were going to put in the walkway across from the island to the mainland, that was all going to be all set up with security cameras and everything else. We had that thing all designed.
That was the plan.
Yeah, that was the original plan.
Michelle, did you want to add anything?
So one of the things that has happened, so through all of this and through the committee's review, and what constantly comes up is that we did do a lot of work on Mill Island. The town did a lot of research many
Yes.
years ago. There was grants that were put in place for us to create this park environment. But what wasn't done was the funds were not necessarily put aside to continue the care and maintenance of what was created. And I think that's really the situation that we find ourselves in now, is that, yes, we had a lot of signage, but the signs have all been destroyed, and they need to be redone. We had some playground equipment. It's rotted. It needs to be replaced. And we have a total of $7,500 a year that we put aside for the care and maintenance of all of our cemeteries and parks that is just general maintenance. I mean, so if you think about that, that's not an awful lot of money. I mean, $7,500 sounds like a lot of money, but when you think about the size and scale of some of our parks and our cemeteries, it's not a lot of money. And does this need to be a focus as we go forward in your next budget cycle, especially as we're going forward, is to, we have a general idea of what needs to be done to bring Mill Island back up to the vision that was created for it, and what that cost is. Is that a separate budget item? And that's where they start their focus and then branch out for get that project taken care of. Do they focus on that one thing? Or is the guidance that they look at all of it and then come back and say, okay, we've looked at everything, these are the projects that we see them in the entire plan? So how does that scale work? That's kind of where the committee has gotten to, and there's different thoughts on how you go about doing that. And, and it ultimately, at the end of the day, all boils down to money.
Right.
We could hire a firm that would do
That was part of the job of that. That was part of the job too, was searching grants, because there are lots of grants out there. And I think today, unfortunately, in my eyes, but there's a lot of money out there from the federal government and stuff of grants and things like that that we should be able to have access to.
And there may be some portions of this process that are going to be eligible for the ARPA funding that we have.
Yeah.
Because it does enhance recreation and movement and physical activity. So, and it's outdoors and it's those sort of pieces. So there are some parts of this that would probably definitely fall in and be in compliance with that. But it can't be used for usually existing maintenance, but it may be able to enhance in particular areas. So, but it's those sorts of things.
So I'm going to go back to the question. Is Mill Island the priority that would stimulate economic growth and stimulate community development?
Well, I think Mill Island, plus I also think where the boat landing is over by the police station, that
The Water
down
Street
in there, the Water
boat
Street,
landing.
The Water Street area. So I would say both of them really are, because, again, go out there in the middle of summer and look around and see how many people are out there fishing. The fishing is actually very good out there, but you don't ever see anybody out there fishing or anything, because it's,
Yeah, you see more,
it's not pushed.
up in Hinckley, you'll see more people fishing. Yeah, Mark, how do you feel about this?
Well, I think maybe a smaller step with Mill Island Park first. See how that goes, see what kind of help you're getting, who's involved. Because once you get a lot of people involved and they complete something, they're more apt to want to continue to do the next project, keep the ball rolling. So I do like John's idea about the boat landing, but I think if you get too diverse and too spread out and you just, I think maybe a more central focus of the Mill Island Park would be a good place to start.
Okay, Michael, how do you feel?
I don't have an issue per se with Mill Island Park. If we don't have security cameras or something up there, we're basically throwing our money away. Anybody that's ever read the Morning Sentinel and saw how many thousands of dollars it cost Waterville for their Riverwalk, for all the damage that was done, people are going to go, why would we want to spend our money and put any tax dollars on Mill Island if it's going to cost us thousands of dollars every time somebody wants to have a party at Mill Island, per se. So without some security over there, I'm really hard pressed to want to throw much money at that, because it's going to get, it will get stove up.
Yeah.
Somebody will.
Yeah. I can't remember how much money is actually in the park line of the budget, Michelle.
So we have, well, first of all, we did receive a donation of $2,000 from the Growth Council to help us towards the site plan piece, or whatever we needed to do. And then we have, there is a capital reserve, well, there's a playground reserve of $37,114.
So we do have money. That
And there's some planning and development reserve money,
Right.
which is $55,820. There's more money in that than there is in our playground fund, actually. So,
Have you bought playground equipment lately?
No.
no, we only put $5,000 aside into our playgrounds, and we need to,
And, well, I mean, the aspect is,
quick.
you go down there and take a look.
got
There's,
some
see what's down there playing
Right.
the playground. There's nothing down there, so.
No, and
There's some sitting at Public Works that Bruce said.
yeah, there's a couple of little, like, one of those, like, spring
Animals
riding
that you-
toys.
yeah.
There's like 2 of those,
Yes.
and I think 1 small little dome monkey bar set
Yep.
that we picked up.
That's right.
With the leftover funds from the end of the year. That's all we have sitting there. There's like there's no swings, it's not slides, it's not
So-
anything big, it's just small stuff.
so then we'll focus on, what I'm hearing is, and you're okay with that, Peter?
Oh, yeah.
Focus on Mill Island as our priority. Okay, Davin? And then really, we'll have to plan for our future of Mill Island when it comes for budget time. You made a good point, Michelle. And the site map. And one of the things that I toy with is, I'm tossed between it is, how much does the Economic Committee get involved with before we're going to get the community involved? Do we lay out the groundwork and then have the community get actively involved? Because it's a busy world, and people don't want to come and just sit at a meeting and not do anything. They want action.
Right. Well, I think laying out the groundwork and also leave, there's some spots open for public input.
Because we're just thinking about another advisory committee, a little subcommittee saying, of volunteers to help us out, and us on the committee would manage that.
Once we've laid the groundwork. Right now, we can't even get the people involved on the committee to come to the meeting.
If you have a vision for Mill Park, put that vision out on paper, put it on a map, have it drawn out so people can see it. And then you have, okay, phase 1 is to do this portion.
Right.
Phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. You do it in sections. It's like, okay, this is our ultimate goal, but we'd like to get this done first. If we get these paths done up, if we get things that aren't easily destroyed in the beginning that can be put up, the trees can be, the brush can be taken down. That's a phase of this project. If you're looking for fishing up there, I would definitely, you know, if you put up a deck area or something where people can stand, I don't think it's a good idea to have people on that riverbank down there because that is extremely fast water.
We was down there on a tour.
Yeah, during a drought, though, so
Yeah.
Drought, yeah.
the water access down there is not the greatest. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why there wasn't any water access put into the prior plans.
But the water's really fast down there. I had a very close friend of mine's son was swept away down there and killed. And I wouldn't want, you know, people in the water or next, you know, if there's a place to fish from with railings, great. But don't stand on the bank to fish down there.
So just based on that, that would be a great survey. What do you want Mill Island to look like? There's, under the railroad trestle, there's a place where you can actually portage your canoe up and then walk up onto the island. But there's no signage designating that place as a place to go. We took a walk, that was the committee, the town manager, Central Maine Growth Council was
And-
there, and Bruce was there from Public
Works.
Works, and we did a walkabout.
We videotoured that.
And we videotaped it, too.
Yep.
So, I forgot about that. So there's definitely things that we can do, and maybe from that, create another survey.
So much history there too, so.
Yeah, and we have talked, Mike, about phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, but then you have that other part of a waterfront plan that was mentioned in the comprehensive plan, so. But it sounds like we'll focus on Mill Island, right, Mark? And then go from there. So, and I'm hearing also that the Economic Committee will be charged with laying out the groundwork and the plan to get the community involved. Correct?
Right. And part of the situation right off the bat would be security system, too.
That would have to be the number one thing
Yeah.
before we do anything.
And creating a vision and then getting input on that vision is sometimes lends itself to a more constructive conversation than leaving a blank slate
Right.
for people to give you. You'd get a lot, as opposed to taking what's already started and get the community to enhance upon.
Yeah.
Right.
There was
starting point.
there
We
was,
might,
go ahead.
might need Nicole on this too, because since she knows the, some environmental aspects of stuff too.
No, there's a bunch of different folks we'd
Yeah,
have to chat
right.
with, yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a community group that was started in the 1980s that started with the demolition
Right.
of the buildings.
Yep.
And they proceeded to make the trails and all that, and they do
Right, we
have
did that.
vision.
Yeah,
I've got that.
I was involved with that, so.
Yeah, yeah, so there is an initial vision that
Yeah.
probably we should revisit.
You know, and, I mean, the input on the survey was, what, 2% of the?
The 130,
Small amount of the population, but.
Small amount of people.
But no small potatoes. I mean, if you think about from what we've heard about some other communities and their surveys, our participation numbers were pretty high.
Yeah.
Well, it's more than, almost triple what we get at a,
Town meeting
Town
sometimes, so it was pretty, it's not much to sneeze at.
Surveys are hard, and we are actually pretty pleased with the volume of the recipients. And
Yeah.
unfortunately or fortunately, that's the nature of surveys.
right.
And it was, you know, a relatively, we did have some broader themes about economic community development, but it was also, you know, specialized to some degree, and it wasn't part of a large community planning, like comprehensive plan process where we're bringing the committee together. So I believe it was over 100 respondents, or 106 specifically. So, yeah, you do have to be mindful of that, of course. But, you know, in the past, when we've been running surveys, we're looking at respondents rates around like 3%, fortunately or unfortunately.
Because we're also to look at the area businesses too, what we have now, on their views, what they're looking at too, because we have some businesses that's going to be close by Mill Island and behind the wharf area, to get their aspect on things too. We might need.
That would be part of our planning process.
Okay.
You're right on that.
Can we go back to the survey? This is gonna sound weird. Would it be possible, I know the turnaround would be tight, or nearly impossible, but doing a survey to try to get more people involved, could we set up a table outside during election day?
Hey, stay out of my head.
No.
May I respond to that question?
Yes.
Okay, so the polling place is restricted to activities that are approved by the statutes and the process, so no to your question. However, I would like to remind council, and it did come up earlier in the week when Michelle and I were talking. So in addition to the fact that I have already posted the board and committee vacancies that recently occurred, right after the election is when I start compiling appointment applications for the presentation in December that I'm required under your council policy and charter to get that information to you. So I will be posting that list soon. I always include a list at the polling place that these are the upcoming vacancies to reach out if you have any interest in public service. But we do have to keep everything else election-minded. I'm not allowed to have anything else.
Right.
But I do post that on the door. I post it on the website.
Yeah.
If we had something hanging in the community center that said,
Yes.
this is Mill Island Park, this is our thoughts, we welcome yours, and if it's hanging there for all the
Big
public.
poster on that door as they leave, where they stick their I voted stickers on the glass as they leave.
Yeah, anything that's posted for the municipality, that type of thing can remain. The other thing is I print that list of community involvement up as a handout for anybody that's interested, so that they can actually take it with them. So it's possible we could do flyers or some sort of a
We
handout.
might be able to work out a little bit of a PR campaign, maybe be able to pull something off in time for the election, so to get a little bit
If
of
it's not this
involvement.
election, the next election.
It would be the next one,
we've got
but-
you'll need some time to come up with a
Plan.
drawing of this is
Right.
what our intent.
Right.
So,
Yep.
you know, next year at this time, if we've got something to hang in this building for everybody that uses it or comes in, and a place to respond to it, a website, hey, what do you think? Let us know.
Because I saw that all over Winslow when they did the Fort Halifax.
Yep.
All the stuff that they did for their plan for their waterfront, and they cleaned out all the shrubs, and it was like, that was all over businesses, all over town.
Yep.
And there was an information where you could,
And that's where the committees comes into play, is that create the vision and then start marketing the vision. And so we're not quite there yet for that, but we certainly can do some PR around the fact that we need members of the committee, for the committee, and to be involved in this process. When we can do some stuff like that.
Right. Okay.
But then you get that vision together, and then you can post that, and that's how that all worked. So
All right.
I think we can maybe work something out.
I think, if you take a look at page 2 of those questions, where basically,
Right.
number 1's done, number 2, we'll start with the Economic Committee and then branch out.
Yeah.
And then as for number 3, the waterfront planning process, we'll start with Mill Island, do a site plan.
And
a vision.
obviously, the other thing, too, you talk about elections, that is being able to put something up in the town office so that
No, most definitely.
you get a lot of traffic there.
And we do a little bit of PR regarding our boards and committee vacancies and that kind of stuff coming up. We don't we could maybe